Welcome to the Sanctuary Community Holidays podcast, produced by me, Noah Bakkour, with Claire Ashwheeler and Rachael B. In this podcast, we explore the amazing connections that happen when asylum seekers and refugees come and stay in rural areas for a few days. We hope you will be inspired to get involved and make a holiday happen in your area. Happy listening.
Welcome to the Sanctuary Community Holidays podcast. It's great to have you with us. I'm Rachael B. I'm one of the founders of SCH and I'm presenting this podcast today. Today we're hearing from the team behind a successful partnership in Bristol and in Chagford. We're here today in the beautiful Chagford. That's been going on since 2018 and it inspired us to found Sanctuary Community Holidays in 2024. So we're recording this podcast today so you can hear directly from people involved in this successful partnership and imagine how it could work in your area. So a big welcome to Claire, Roger, Brian and Deirdre, a part of the team that brought the first holiday together. Founded the organisation Chagford Hospitality Network, which we're very excited about because we had Bristol Hospitality Network, and continue to support holidays in Chagford to this day. So there's been one last year and there's going to be one this year as well. Amazing. Since 2008 until today. And Noah, who is also hopefully going to pop round the camera in a minute, came on a holiday to Chagford in 2022, and when he was an asylum seeker, and after he was granted refugee status, came to join the Sanctuary Community Holidays team as our communications manager. Today he's capturing the podcast behind the camera. Hi Noah. So Claire, I'm going to start with you. At the very beginning, your inspiration to come to meet us in Bristol. Can you share why? Why did you start this whole thing in the beginning?
Yes, it came out of feeling really disempowered and upset by the situation in Syria in 2017. Had been going on for quite a while, the thing with asylum seekers leaving and war, devastation, and hearing in the media all the sad stories. And I just felt, what on earth could I do? What could make a difference? It was just overwhelming. There was a friend staying in the area and we went for a walk up a very big hill in Chagford called Meldon Hill. Sat on the top, we were having a picnic and looking down on Chagford, and she's a woman who's worked as expert witness with Iraqi asylum seekers. And I just said, what could we do about the situation? Because she had some experience of the countries. And she said, well, this landscape on Dartmoor where we live looks very like Kurdistan, Iraq. And perhaps asylum seekers would like to come here for a holiday. I mean, it was such an odd thing to think about. But that stayed with me. And I thought, okay. And she said, I've got a friend in Bristol who's the director. Her name's Rachael B. That's you. Oh. Director of Bristol Hospitality Network. And maybe you should go and have a chat with her. I thought, okay, I'm going to do something about this instead of this sort of feeling of freezing when you hear such bad news. What could I do? And so I called up Rachael B and she said, we've got an AGM coming up shortly. Why don't you come? Literally 2 weeks later. So my husband Roger and I went to Bristol and walked into this big room, the drop-in centre, and there was Rachael warm and greeting me warmly, and I was surrounded by strangers from other countries, and oh gosh, you know, something I'd never done before. And we sat down at the table and yeah, you said maybe we could have some holidays or retreats in Chagford on Dartmoor, not that you knew the place. And I thought, okay, we could do that. We could do that in Chagford. It's charming, tourists love coming here. I'll see what I could do. It felt like it was something I could try and make holidays for people who're struggling so much in the system. So I went home and I started talking to, you on the phone, because you did say You had no capacity. There's no money for it. How would we do it?
There wasn't any.
and there's no one to do it. You were already pushed with all the commitments you had. But that didn't deter me.
It did not.
We talked together, and then I thought I would contact my friend Deirdre and Brian, because we've worked on other projects and businesses in the village, and they're very much yes people like we are. We could do this, yeah. And then we also knew some other good friends, Joe and Paul Diffie, and so, who aren't here today. So we got together, we started talking, and I kept badgering you and saying, what about if we do this? What about if we do that? And you said, finally, I'll come and give a presentation about the work of BHN. We'll gauge the interest in our community. A small village, 1,800 people, something like that, in the village parish. Not a big place, but a beautiful setting. So I recall that you came down one weekend in 2018, April 2018. So it was 2017, September, we came to the AGM. So 6 months later, we had you come down for a presentation.
Got me in the end.
Yeah. And you stayed overnight, and you brought Kenyan asylum seeker, Gambian asylum seeker, and I think a Kurdish person, 3 guys. And they were part of your presentation in our little village hall. And a lot of people came from the village. And we had a donation box out there, and quite a lot of money was raised during your presentation. So that gave us the confidence to think we could get something going here. There's enough interest of other people who felt they wanted to take action.
Amazing.
So that was how a kind of idea on top of a hill behind you was the beginning of a seed of an idea that is now blossoming and has had a massive impact on everybody involved.
So perhaps a little bit of being inspired and not letting the niggle go, doing something about it, and also being persistent in asking for something, even when people are stretched and it's difficult to answer. Yeah. Okay. Well done for keeping going. Amazing. Look where we are now.
Thanks for saying that.
Okay.
For all this time.
So, great. Okay, so perhaps maybe go to Deirdre and Brian now and ask you a little bit about how did it feel? Were you at the Endicott House meeting? And how did it feel being there and meeting the people that I brought with me that day? And did you sit there and think, oh yeah, this is something we could definitely do? Or what were you thinking?
Well, when you finally agreed, we were. I mean, I was absolutely on board with Claire. I mean, I thought it was just such an amazing idea. I mean, obviously we had to think, how should we raise the funds? But having met, actually before you did your presentation, Endicott, a few of you came just for a supper at Claire's. And I was very moved by the 2 people that you brought. And then you came and did, I mean, you're an amazing speaker. And I think you inspired people who have no idea what to expect. And as Claire said, raised money immediately. And it sort of really took off from there.
Did you feel like people in Chagford had met, I mean, you had met some asylum seekers previously with Brian's work, but were there many other people in the village that had ever met an asylum seeker?
I don't think they knew what was going to happen, to be honest, but it's a very generous community. I mean, you know, obviously it's mixed. There might be a few people that weren't comfortable, but in the main, I mean, people have been welcomed when they go shop. Visitors have been welcomed when they wander around the town, and I think it's been a really good outcome in terms of people having more understanding and seeing these, I mean, delightful people as real human beings, you know, not just somebody who arrives on a boat, you know, from God goodness knows where. So I think that's been a great benefit.
One of our favourite quotes is, build longer tables, not higher walls. So we've got to have a table today to be sat around. But I think one of the things that we've seen in the holidays is when people have been staying in the village, in families' homes, with people, sitting around the breakfast table, there's been some real breaking down of boundaries. Is there anything you can say to that?
Yes, we didn't have anyone stay with us the first year because I've done the catering most years. But when we did have somebody stay with us, it was such a privilege for him to trust us enough to over breakfast tell us his story. And I know he'd had a very hard time and hadn't been able to even speak about it for, maybe years, I don't know. But, I think it was such a privilege to have these people stay with you and gain their trust and be happy.
What do you think about the...
Special.
Thank you, Deirdre. What do you think, Brian, about the village and the impact of having people come and stay in Chagford?
I don't think it's had a great impact because the village is so welcoming and so open that, certainly in my experience, people have just been welcomed. They've felt at home. They felt comfortable. And as Deirdre was just saying, just personally, having someone suddenly tell you their life story, because we never ask questions to start with. We wait for somebody else to tell us something. Yeah. And I'll never forget sitting at the breakfast table, and we were all in tears in the end. So just the people being here just has its effect, but gently, quietly, people become used to having people of a different colour walking around, people who speak differently walking around. And my experience is that they've all been really welcomed and accepted. I'm sure there's one or two people who don't, but the majority of people have loved it.
Amazing. Okay.
I'd like to just add, particularly going back to your original question, that meeting in Endicott House.
Yep.
It was a big unknown.
Yeah.
But I think it could have struck an unconscious nerve in people. Of this is different. It's a white community. Devon is kind of a white farming area, and it was that something other that could be intriguing. Also, with the thread of compassion and the going against the government media's storyline, and it inspired, and it kind of immediately inspired this feeling of how can I help.
Maybe people were waiting for the opportunity to do something very much like Claire, but not having had the opportunity to sit on Meldon with a friend with all that knowledge.
And do something maybe totally different from their normal day-to-day. This is it sparks a certain energy and enthusiasm.
I think that's right. I think there's something about, we get a lot of calls on us to donate money. And not that many calls to donate your time unless you want to volunteer for an organisation. But here it was, we were coming to the village with an idea that people could participate in on whatever level they were comfortable with. So whether it was hosting, having two complete strangers from another country and culture walk into your home, or whether it was helping transport those people or provide activities like sports, like playing rounders or playing music together or giving a guided walk on the moor. We had so many offers, and we still do each year, for helping and volunteering, contributing those skills and talents that are naturally in a village like this, artists, musicians, and people who have skills they want to give and share with those who are struggling in their lives. And that's part of a holiday, isn't it? You come to a place to enjoy the location, and these people are offering those sort of things. I've had offers already this year for art classes, for pottery again, and also for singing together. I mean, those are wonderful things, and a little bit different each year, for people saying, I want to do this. And that is so heartwarming. The whole experience has been incredibly heartwarming for both us as offering and those receiving.
So is that one of the things that you would say was a surprise along the way, how open the community was to offer things that they had and put it all together and make this amazing mixture of things?
I think it was. I don't think we saw much past doing the first year or two. We liked how it was the first year, so we thought, oh, well, let's do it again next year. Hey, why don't we have those people come along? And that person said they wanted to give a writing workshop and do some writing with people. So it's like, it's had a momentum. And it's not just us now, it's a community. And our hosts have told us that it's something they look forward to every year. They're definitely going to host again. And I'm always getting calls from other people saying we'd like to host. So there is a momentum that isn't just about us anymore. And Bristol Hospitality Network, they're fantastic to work with, the team there. And they choose the asylum seekers. We don't do the choosing of who's coming because we don't know them. So we trust them to choose the right people that can manage coming on a holiday in the countryside, 5 days and nights, and their English might not be totally fluent, and that's okay. So BHN are really good at managing that side of things, and the safeguarding, that sort of thing is really, really helpful. We work very closely with them, and it's a delight. And so when the asylum seekers come here, you know, we're already feeling excited to see them. Who are they going to be this year? You know, from vast number of countries, from African countries, Middle Eastern countries, Morocco, North Africa, wide range, Sri Lanka sometimes, Colombia. And we get exposed to all these cultures. I mean, I think that's part of what you're talking about, is it's enriched our community and the people who get involved in ways we didn't imagine, really.
I think everybody's been enriched by it. I mean, the guests are enriched by being here. We're enriched by being with them. And it's often very joyful. You know, I mean, I've had such fun and laughing, and because people become more and more open as they're here. Sometimes when people come to start with, I'm a little bit held back and shy, not surprisingly. And then gradually everybody opens up, and we really do have a good time. And that, I'm sure that it's like a little ripple that spreads out through Chagford. And it's a plus for everybody, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, my strong memory is often of dancing.
Yes.
In various places, and thinking, oh, this is amazing. We don't normally get people to dance across all of these, you know, across all of these boundaries that the world would put between us, and then here we are just dancing together.
Well, on Fridays, when the weather's good, we have music on the wall, on the church wall, and I just remember one day when traffic couldn't get through because we were all dancing in the street, and actually people were dancing, holding young children and dancing with them, and you know, and it was just glorious.
Amazing.
Amazing.
I think that's part of the activities we do as well. The things like the sports, the learning rounders, for instance. I mean, initially when we started, we did cricket, but it was so slow and not everyone was having a go. You remember that one? And so we swapped it around us where it's very quick. Everyone's having a turn, and it's learning something from our culture. So it's that cultural exchange that goes on as well. But with the sports, with sharing music, sharing food across the table, sharing laughter, those are the kind of bonds and things that don't need a good language skill.
Yeah.
And they're just enjoyable to share together.
Amazing.
I agree with Brian about the laughter and joy. I think that was a surprising thing as well. I didn't know how joyful I would feel and how much joy was coming from the guests staying with us, how relaxed they became so quickly, how open they became. And it's such a joyful thing. Surprising. Would you say?
Definitely. I mean, hosting is really special. And when Noah and his cousin Iham and a Chechenian, Salman, stayed with us, it's a bit of a fluke. We weren't going to have hosts that year. We weren't going to be hosts that year, but the circumstances led way to that. And it was just the three of us sitting in the evening, just around a round table and just chatting, or being down in our blueberry cage, you know, and chatting and picking and eating blueberries. We even, after that, we started a blueberry app, you know, WhatsApp, and that's been going for what, 4 years, 5 years, 4 years, you know, since you arrived. You know, three guys who didn't speak a word of English, when they arrived 4 Februaries ago. And they went to language school in Bristol and Cardiff. Noah put himself through a year of college, learning more about filming and camera work. I have really excelled as a chef, and now is doing plastering work. It's just watching the unfolding of their time. Very, 3 full years they've been here, and they're now have their refugee status. They're off to Germany to visit a brother or a cousin, or Austria or Holland, and a whole new world is opened up to them. Of course, Syria is changing dramatically over the last month, so I think they're all, well, the two of them, the two cousins, that are raring to get back there. So that's the impact, and how one could see that unfold. We're on the phone all the time. They visited us, numerous times over the years. Spent Christmas together. I never had a son, so now I've got 3.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's interesting to me from the perspective of an urban project, observing what's happened here and feeling like actually we haven't had a holiday and then gone away again and forgotten about it. We've made friends with people in a village and become at home there as well as we are at home elsewhere. And it's given people a sense of almost extended family outside of the day-to-day life. So I think there's something quite beautiful about that, which is really well illustrated by that story, Roger. And I think that's it's a very beautiful thing, and that you still have contact with people and you don't just have them stay in your home for 4 days and then forget. But there has been an ongoing conversation, ongoing support, and that's an amazing thing as well.
And that it would be true to say that's not the case for everybody.
Yep.
All the hosts don't necessarily start their own WhatsApp group with their guests. They might not feel that connection, but they've definitely got happy memories and like to hear about how their guests are getting on through BHN and that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there anything that you want to share? Other stories, that's a lovely story. There are other stories that you'd like to share about things that you've seen happen through the CHN holiday that you think help other people imagine what a holiday might be like?
Trying to think of an example that would fit what you just suggested. I'm not sure that I can answer that question, but the thing that when I've been listening to everything that's been said, the thing that I think happens more than is normal is laughing. I think that when everybody's got used to each other and they let their protection down, it's such fun, and we do laugh a lot. And we play, we play games, which is always lovely because you're sharing and relating. So I'm a great one for games.
I remember one of our guests loved playing, what's it called, where you throw the ball in the hole?
Cornhole.
Cornhole. And one absolutely wiped the floor
it's
with
very
everyone
annoying.
else.
I cannot beat any of them.
I don't think I have a specific memory that stands out. There's so many. But in this very space, in this community space where we hold the main gathering place and some of the activities, we have the ping pong table up, and when they arrive in the morning first thing, they're straight on the ping pong and playing games and competing. And it's kind of, we're all relaxing together.
Yeah.
And it feels like they feel at home quite quickly. And a lot of them don't know each other, even though they come to Bristol Hospitality Network to the drop-in. They're from lots of different cultures and countries. So it's a kind of bonding between those guys, and it's mostly guys, there are some women for some of the holidays. So they're getting to know each other. We're getting to know them collectively and individually. And I agree with Brian, this laughter that starts coming, the dancing I remember on the wall, and the friendliness of people in our village saying hi in the street. And that, the asylum seekers said to us, that has a really positive impact on them. They feel more confident. If they come back for another holiday, it's more familiar, and they just love it. And coming into British people's homes, is something that they haven't necessarily done before. They've been in hotels or in single accommodation. So coming into someone's home, being trusted, getting involved with the washing up or even making food, and being one of the family, that matters so much to people. And so they can relax quickly and then enjoy the other activities. The landscape has an impact on them, walking on Dartmoor and finding out, that something is different apart from an urban setting. That's really important, fresh air, countryside.
Deirdre?
Well, one of the really magic moments was, I think it was last year, the year before. They literally all arrived in different cars. They're brought to the bus station in Exeter, and volunteers go and collect them, and they all come in, and in here they don't know where they're coming to. This group walked in here. There were musical instruments here. Within 5 minutes, they were all playing music together. And it was just joyous. I mean, literally, they'd never seen us before. They didn't know where they were coming to. And yet they were literally at home within 5 minutes. It was just wonderful. I mean, really, it's so moving. We had drumming and guitars and again, they were different cultures. They were, what's lovely is it's the way that different cultures can find things in common.
Absolutely.
It's what we all have in common that's important, and it's just lovely.
Roger?
An example of the rippling effect. We were up in Cardiff. Visiting Noah. It was the time of Noah's graduation from the college, and the various students had different types of art projects, but Noah's was film. And he had a couple of friends. Yes, it does matter. Because and one was an Egyptian lad named Mustafa, and he came to dinner with us after he joined us for dinner. But we invited Mustafa sometime later, some months later, to come and stay a weekend with us. And we were apple pressing at the time, and he just mucked in. He was in the garden with us, and there was an open mic up at in Chatford. And it's generally, somebody playing guitar and somebody singing a Loudon Wainwright song, and somebody else doing whatever they do. And Mustafa said, "Yeah, I'd like to do something," and he got up and sang. And he sang, and he borrowed another fellow's cajon, right? That's called. And he sang in Arabic. None of us. He gave a little introduction of what it's about, but he just sang. It was so beautiful, and we're still. It was just lovely. These people might not have been a host or helped volunteer in any way, but they were there that moment in time, upstairs in the Globe pub, listening to this Arabic just wafting through the room, and it was just a gorgeous moment.
Amazing. Wow, thanks so much for those memories. They're really special. And I think that everybody we speak to in Chagford would come up with something similar to that, actually. Yeah. Okay, one last thing is, how do you feel about what you've started? So, as you may know, inspired by what you guys have done here in CHN, Claire and I and Noah have founded Sanctuary Community Holidays, and we are hoping that more and more communities like this will offer this sanctuary holiday to people in the asylum system and refugees, and have the same interactions and the same conversations around the breakfast table, and get totally whopped at, cornhole or whatever game it is, and have the same experiences that we've talked about and the same joy that you've mentioned. So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the possibility of other villages like Chagford offering something like this? How does it make you feel? And what would you say to those villages if you could speak to them directly?
I would say do it. and I think as a team, we've always been really willing to talk to anybody who thinks, how did we do it? You know, I think to spread the word is wonderful. I love what you're doing. I think it's a great idea. And I would encourage anyone, any small community that wants to help, to try it. You know, it's very rewarding.
Yeah, I'd say you'll gain by it. Everybody will gain by it. The community will gain by it. You'll gain by it as an individual. The people you're welcoming in will all gain by it. It's win-win.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, I love the fact that Chagford Hospitality has inspired Sanctuary Community Holidays. That just feels a natural ripple, like you were saying, of what we do to replicate the model, specifically, I think, with asylum seekers staying in British people's homes. That makes the whole connection really important, really human, away from the media and the government responses to the situation. And eating and talking across a table, finding that common ground, is really inspiring. As Brian said, it's so rewarding. It's a privilege, as Deirdre has mentioned before, and such a positive thing for everyone involved. I love that it's blooming, going to blossom.
Yeah.
Claire's on a roll. It's a model that works. It's been proven here over 7 years that it really works. Why keep it at Chagford? Why, I mentioned this earlier, and something needs to counteract the media and the government's response to people who've been persecuted. Through war or famine, and are looking for a better place to live. It's just the natural response. People need to. And this is really, one of the few responses, because it's aside from politics. It's human beings helping other human beings.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So thank you so much for your thoughts and your time today, and for sharing such great stories and memories and the joy, trying to kind of demonstrate the joy of the whole process. It's been amazing to work with you over these 7 years. And hopefully we continue to inspire new movements of change across the UK where there's other holidays like this. So if you've been inspired today and you would like to set up your own sanctuary community holiday, please go to our website, www.sanctuarycommunityholidays.org.uk. You can find out a bit more about us. You can watch some of the other podcasts that we've done from there, and really get a sense of how you can make something like this happen in your area. We encourage you to get in touch with us, talk to us. We think, just do it. That's what you said, Brian, isn't it? Yeah, just do it. I think that is the answer to that niggle within you that says, what can I do about this situation? You can do something. You can do this. Thank you.